we're going to take one more detour.
We love a good detour.
Even though we're talking about this, there is this, I'm so fascinated because I said the term breadwinner, and I had somebody use that term the other day, and I was like, what is this, the 1950s breadwinner? Because that's...
Yeah, we don't eat carbs anymore. That's true.
Welcome. You've found the Effin Heifers, the podcast where women of all ages, stages, and levels of chaos come to graze. Please welcome your hosts, Ashley and Lisa.
Hey, Heifers, and hey, my favorite heifer, there she is. How are you today?
Hey, Heifer, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Well, this heifer I'm looking at just got back from a cruise, so it's lucky we're speaking today. Meanwhile, I'm in Ohio in a sweatshirt, and I had the heat on this morning. So,
Stop.
How was your cruise?
It was great. It was really
Lucky
good.
Girl.
Yeah, it was really nice. So we were on a 7-day cruise with MSC. It was my first time cruising MSC. It was really nice. It was a nice ship. We went out of Port Canaveral, Florida, so we did drive. So we had quite a long drive down to Florida, jumped on the ship, and really could not say more good things about the ship or the cruise or the people. Of course, the people on the ship were just amazing, and my co-shipmates, that was really great too. So it was really neat. MSC is very much a line, I think, that people from everywhere still cruise from. So we heard just about every language.
I love that.
I loved it. It was so neat.
Yeah, that's nice.
And, we had our littlest one with us that unplanned originally made the journey with us. It was a last minute addition to our romantic getaway. So we were able to
getaway with a first mate.
with the first mate, right? Our first mate. So originally it was supposed to be boyfriend and I, and then it became boyfriend and our son and I. And it was great. Could not, like I said, couldn't talk more good things about the ship, the people on the ship, the people that we were cruising with. But yeah, we spoke to people from all over the States, but then also people that were not from the States. In the kiddie pool, I remember a lady who was literally lives in Brazil, that they came for Disney and this cruise. So it was really exciting. Nice. We're going to do another one in out of Miami later on in the summer. So it's going to be a different line. So it's going to be exciting. Same cruise line. So we're still with MSC, but a different ship. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of compare the two. But we really enjoyed the MSC cruise line. So no, we're not sponsored by them, but I would recommend MSC if you're looking for a cruise line. We could be. We would love it. Yes. So it was really great. And to be quite honest, again, I'm not trying and I'm not being paid to say this, although, but it was really great. We did some really great stops. Their private island, Coco Cay, is beautiful. It really is a really nice private island. They're still developing it and expanding it, but it's got like 4 or 5 different types of beaches, lagoons for the kids and all that kind of stuff. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Really nice. All of the ports that we visited were really nice, but Coco Cay, which is their private island, again, it was really nice. So we're excited. Yeah. We're really looking forward to our next one because we did have such a great experience on this first one. So
I'll bet the water is just breathtaking.
It was amazing. Perfect.
There's
turquoise
something about the color of that water that's just,
amazing. Yeah, because it is a Bahamian island. So yes, those beautiful turquoise and dark blue waters. So, chef's kiss.
Oh, I love it. Well, I
gained like 5 pounds. Just saying, the food was amazing. I gained like 5 pounds.
I mean, that's the whole point of a cruise, is to eat. You better gain weight. You're paying for it.
Yes, but it was good food. It was good food.
Okay, so I got to tell you, Mr. Collins and I went on a cruise, and we were young. It was our 10th wedding anniversary, and we had 2 kids at home. Used to go to bed early at night. We set an alarm for the midnight buffet. So it's very normal to gain weight on a cruise. I mean, part of the reason of going on a cruise is you're there to eat, and you don't have to do any cooking. I love it.
And no dishes.
Oh my God, it's like a dream.
Yeah, it was really
nice. It's like
nice.
A self-contained dream. Well, I'm so happy you had that time. Oh my gosh. See, now that's a happy relationship story, but today we're going to be talking about divorce and custody, so maybe not such happy relationship stories, right? But important to talk about nonetheless, right?
For sure.
Yeah. And so, well, we'll get started a little bit. Let's talk about divorce first. You and I have had a lot of conversations about divorce and how divorce impacts people. And listen, I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school to say that you have had your share of firsthand knowledge of a very acrimonious divorce, right?
For sure.
But we've also talked about how the South, especially the southern states. Now, I can't speak to the Midwest because I don't have any experience there. But the southern states disenfranchise women when it comes to divorce. They make you wait a year to get divorced. Tell me, how is it okay to tie a woman to a bad situation? As you know, I helped somebody out with a divorce in South Carolina, and she was in a very abusive situation. Tied her to her abuser for a year. She literally had a countdown clock on her phone. Yeah.
I don't think that there's man or woman, right? We're women, so we're going to speak more to the woman's point of view or our side of the line. But when it's done, right? And to have the court system dictate how long you need as their words, not ours, cool down period.
They need to cool down.
How about a cool down when it's time to get that marriage license to start with? How about that? Don't put the cart before the horse, maybe. I don't know. But you can they do not ask any questions when you're going to make that marriage, to get that marriage certificate. But they sure do want to put their nose in your business when it's time to dissolve that union. So why after the fact are you so interested, but you're not interested in the why these two parties have come to the determination that they should be joined together?
Right.
The math doesn't math case. And yes, very often, right? Because again, right, before we really jump into the afters of it all, let's talk about the before of it. You can literally go into the clerk's office and say, we want to get married. And they say, do you? Okay, here's your little piece of paper and off you go, right? 30 days has to be done within 30 days or whatever. Maybe some jurisdictions are a little bit different, but there's no other questions asked. But then you have to wait for, and all this, there's a lot of difference, but for the vast majority, it's a 1 year for the state's waiting period, especially if there's children involved and I believe it's official called a cool down period. Yep. And that is, it causes, I think, way more harm than it does good. I would love to hear some data points from the states who are mandating this 1 year waiting period to say there's resolutions, or this is, there's robust resolves where they don't end up divorcing versus they still move forward with a divorce. Because quite frankly, my experience is it's only gives you or the other party a year to get more frustrated and to get more animosity to build, more fuel is added to the fire than good. To be quite honest, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people that go through a divorce because there are emotions and feelings and financial, and there's all kinds of things to it. But there's a lot of emotions that are going with the divorce, and not everybody wants to put their big boy pants or big girl pants on and put the children first. They want to be petty and they want to get somebody back, or they're going to hold a grudge against just the whole breakdown of the relationship, or you did this or you did that, or in this year of separation you didn't do this and you did do that, and it really just adds more fuel to the fire. And quite frankly, to your point, it can be very, very dangerous to the individuals involved, but one of the main reasons why the states have this cool down period is for the children. Quite frankly, it can be very dangerous for the children, directly or indirectly, by putting their parents at risk.
Agreed. I'd love to see the statistics. Boy, I can't
Same
talk today.
word.
The statistics on that. I'd love to see that, because how many bad things happen in that year. I can tell you that this person had multiple children and had to get them to school in the morning. She was solely responsible for their care. He was zero help. What a shock. And look, I'm not, before you think I'm hating on men, that goes both ways. And we'll talk about that too. There are also terrible women out there, so that goes both ways. But in this case, he was awful, slashed her tires, all 4 of her tires, so she couldn't get the kids to school. And who knows what else he would have done had he been able to get in the house. I mean, you just don't know. There's so much unpredictability there. And the court's saying, no, we're going to tie you to this person. We're going to tie you to them for a year. Outside of what you've already endured. Because if you're already at the point of, I want a divorce, you've already been through something. You don't just wake up and go, time for a divorce. There's a lot of lead up to that.
Yeah. Or maybe you do. Maybe you do just wake up and decide.
Well, maybe you're just past your,
I'm done. But still, having the opportunity to just be done. And cut ties before a lot of emotion or that buildup that I was talking about that can happen in that year can happen. Just be able to cut the ties, right?
For the children.
But then also for your own personal well-being and sound mind.
Yep.
Right? Because there's a lot of damage, and there's a lot of damage that can be done to your psyche in that 1 year waiting period while you're dealing with right? That's the right answer. That's the right thing to do, but you have to wait a year. So then you do sit there and, am I making the right decision for myself, for my kids, for my family?
For my kid. Yeah.
Is it just easier for me to deal with it? Was I just
overreaction
overreaction and this and that, right? But then also flip that coin on the other way. Hey, maybe if your partner knew, it can just be that easy to break ties and move on, especially if you don't financially intertwine things.
Right.
Maybe they won't take so much advantage of things. Maybe they will truly see things for what they are, that this is a choice.
Yeah.
To be in this relationship. Act like it.
Well, exactly. And, it's interesting because we've talked about a little bit about it here. I ran a not-for-profit for so long. I still am very involved in helping people, friends and friends of friends even, and, whoever comes to me. If they need help walking through a pro se divorce, I help them, right? So I've seen a lot of bad situations because it's usually you're in a bad situation and you're just trying to get out of the marriage, and just crazy stuff that you think the court should not be allowing this. I'm going to be quite frank. In my own life, I've seen it with one of my grandchildren. I alluded to it in another one of our topics, another one of our podcasts, but I'm telling you, my oldest grandbaby was kidnapped. She was kidnapped. She was missing for almost 2 months. We didn't know where she was.
My gosh.
And guess what the court said? Well, they're still married. It's a civil matter. Go to court if you don't like it. Couldn't find her.
In the meantime.
Yeah. And I will never forget my son's reaction the day she came back, because he literally just fell to his knees and threw his arms around her. And she was a wee little, she was just and so standing up, because this is when she was a baby.
Gosh.
We're talking about like 11 months old. Yeah. And the devastation, oh my gosh, the devastation that caused. And, no secret, that particular grandchild, it's been a battle ever since. We've been in and out of court. She's in her teens now. I can guarantee we will be in and out of court until she's 18.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the courts are not helpful.
Right.
You can go to court, go to court, go to court, go to court, go to court. They're not in a hurry. They don't care. They literally don't care. They say best interest of the child, but I would love for someone to define exactly what best interest of the child means, right? I would love a definition of that, because does that mean they're fed, they're breathing? Is that what's the standard? Because the bar seems to be very, very, very low.
That's exactly, boy, you said a lot there, right? What is the best interest of the child? Because
they throw that around all the time. That's all you hear. Best interest of the child, best interest of the child, best interest of the child. But boy,
the best interest of the child is not always to have both parents to have
correct
access, undenied,
unfettered access.
You. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because the emotional damage is deep, man. And it just gets deeper and deeper with age.
Right. And I think
that gets deeper with age.
And that's one of the biggest things that I think the courts miss out on, is the psychological, right? You can see physical a lot of times, the physical things, right? Or you can see a dirty house. You can see an unkept child. You can see that kind of stuff, but you cannot see the manipulations behind the scenes. You can't see the torment that those kids are going through. The kids, feeling like they can't be themselves with one parent or another parent, or they feel like they have to be two different children depending on the child, depending on who they're with or when they're with them. And then to the parent, you don't know what manipulation tactics your kid has already,
Correct.
To be quite honest, your kid could really be manipulating you behind the scenes because they're learning from the best, or they've learned to
compartmentalize, right? They're compartmentalizing everything, right? For instance, this particular grandchild, her mother makes it very clear to her that she is 100% responsible for the mother's happiness, right? And so she feels the weight of that responsibility, the weight of being responsible for her mother's happiness. First of all, what a horrific, selfish way to be with your own child. I'm just going to call it what it is, you know? And secondly, it's something that the court, you can say it all you want, but they can't see it. And frankly, they're not going to consider it because, again, it's just the basics. Is she getting medical care? Is she fed? Is she watered? Is she fed and watered? I mean, right? It's literally the basics.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's just the basics. But I stutter and stumble over my words because it's such an emotionally charged subject, right? Especially for It's No Secret that it's a life that I live, and you tried lightly for it, right? Yeah. For your kid, because you do love your kid and you do want to make sure that they have the best opportunities and that this and that, and you don't want to smear things and you don't want to feed into somebody else's emotionally outbursts or immaturities or insecurities, and you definitely don't want to, right? You're a parent, so you're always supposed to be like golden rule and treat others and do this and don't let other people get the best of you and don't react because they're acting badly. We have a lot of conversations in my house on what happened and how do you think, do you think that's the way that you should handle things, or that? But
that's a good way to handle it.
That's the only way you can, right? Because you cannot make excuses for another parent when they are blindly wrong
bad behavior,
right? You can't, but you also do not want to badmouth the other parent to your child. So it's a very difficult line to dance on. And so you have to, right? Look, I know your parent means the best, but what do you think about this? You know, and you got to make them the critical thinkers of it, which sounds crazy because sometimes you're dealing with really little kids. But sometimes you're dealing with really big kids, and sometimes you're dealing with very emotional or hormonal children who might not want to think of it the right way because they are thinking emotionally or hormonally, and right?
Correct.
Like, so you just layer
depending
and layer
on
and layer.
the age. Oh my gosh, yes, because every age, every stage is different. And boy, I've seen that as the years have gone by, because look, my oldest son got divorced when his oldest child was quite young. You know, she was not even 3 years old when the divorce was final. And so I've seen every stage of that development and what that looks like and what the battles have looked like. And now when she's old enough to choose where she wants to be, how difficult that is, because, you know, she'd rather be with, you know, her dad. And so that's tough to, and look, it's not that I'm not compassionate. That's got to be tough on her mom, right?
Sure.
I acknowledge that. That's got to be hard on her mom. She's earned it, you know, but it's still got to be, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, but it's
true.
Still got to be hard on her. I have to say, we always love to turn things to Bravo, and we will turn things to Bravo,
For sure.
I guess, to lighten it up a little bit. But I was thinking, in terms of divorce and custody, I was thinking about our Bravo babes, our Bravo heifers, right? And I was thinking about Dorit, because there's been a lot of talk on Housewives of Beverly Hills this season about Dorit, because she's talked very openly about PK's not a, you know, he's not particularly a great dad. He only wants the kids when he wants them, when he wants to have fun. It's at his convenience. He's an alcoholic. She said that a lot, you know, and there was a lot of back and forth about, should she be speaking so publicly about him, you know? And this segues right into what you were just saying, because it is a fine line, you know. Should she be talking about him that way? I don't, you know, at some point those kids are going to see this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where it gets hard, right? Because she's completely entitled to her experience and sharing her experience, and her experience is earning her a paycheck right now, right?
It sure is.
If she wasn't sharing about what's actually going on in her life right now, she would be getting so criticized, right?
Right? Oh, yes, like, because she's not being transparent. Mild. She's not putting her life out there, blah, 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 blah. We hear that all the time.
We hear it all the time, right? How you're not sharing what's really going on in your life.
Yeah.
So we do have to...
Not being authentic.
Yes, right. So we have to, you know, give credit where credit is due, that she's talking about what she's really going through and what she's really experiencing. But yes, at the same time, you do have to protect the children, right? And I do think that there's something that some of the other Bravo celebrities that have dealt with that, they do kind of make sure that they're not involving the children, right? Yeah. And
the other thing is, it can blow back on you in court.
It really can. Yeah.
You got,
go.
Be careful in a divorce, in custody. You know, you and I always say, we love a good receipt. I love a good receipt. Oh my God, keep those text messages, print them out, write out a timeline of all the bad behavior. Keep good receipts, because you'll need them.
Yeah, let's give that its due time to talk about that. As big of a pain in the butt it is to keep all of that. And sometimes maybe you seem or feel so petty, especially when you're just getting into it, to go, well, we're breaking up and it's going to be amicable and we're going to do the best and we're going to keep the kids first. It's very difficult to keep that copacetic, right?
Come on.
And I'm not saying for me, right? But I will be perfectly honest. There are people, and I do know people that co-parent very, very well. And I am privileged that I can see a very good co-parenting relationship with my partner, with my boyfriend and his children's mother, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's so nice and it's so refreshing to see. And it's very helpful also to see.
Well, yeah.
But there's not a lot of people.
It can happen. Look, that is honestly, that's like the anomaly. That is the exception, not the rule. I'm telling you, because almost everyone has these tumultuous, they're just, the other person is just making their lives a living hell.
Yes. And I also know that firsthand.
So do I.
Right?
I watched it in my own child's life.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So where it's just the constant being difficult just to be difficult.
Yeah. And there are people that are out there that are like that. And these people could be very successful, right? In their own right, in their professional world. And they probably present themselves very different to the outside world. But who they are behind closed doors with their, former significant other or children's, co-parent, parallel parent, whatever you want to call it. However, if really you have to define that relationship because it's not functioning the way it should, is crazy and it's difficult. And you have to, and at some point somebody has to be the bigger person. And sometimes there's a lot of bending that one parent has to do, but not everybody. Going back to not everybody, again, going back to how emotional this can be, right? It was a relationship. Right. I think there's a lot of time that people are still dealing with rejection of that relationship, whether it's 100% rejection of that person, the breakdown of the family, but there's a lot of emotion that is put in that. And sometimes some people just really have the most difficult getting over that and putting that past and putting the children first and saying, this is actually a person. And maybe this is a person that I used to care about. At the end of the day, you just got to go, you know what? This is somebody my kid cares about, and I shouldn't treat my kids. Somebody who is so important to my kid or children's life, I should not treat them that way. And kids always learn what they see, right?
They do.
So you as
They're
a
like
parent,
little sponges.
Little sponges, yeah. So as much as we have conversations sometimes in my house to say, now, this is what happened, and unfortunately, this is why, or this is that, this is how we shouldn't or should do something. We have those conversations because I don't want you to just think you're getting away with it, or you don't care, or why are you not fighting or putting up a stink for this or for that. And it's like, well, because at the end of the day, I want you to be happy. I don't want this to cause strife in your life. I don't want this to come back at you. I don't want this, right? And that's also going back to Marie or some of our housewives where you're just making a more difficult situation way more difficult by
No, you're just compounding the problem.
Stirring the pot. Yeah.
Yeah. And you find as you go along, I know my son has found there are fights you're just not willing to have. They're not, you know what I mean? You have to pick your battles and choose which are the most important. And of course, the most important are the ones that impact your child the most. Those are the hardest ones. I thought it was interesting. I was watching, of course, I was watching Bravo, but I was watching The Valley, and Brittany has been not always sometimes I've been like, ooh, should she be talking about all that in front of Cruz and stuff, right? But she did say she was at a dinner. This was not in front of him. And, he's nonverbal, and there's a lot of challenges with him. And, she's got him in therapy and stuff. And she did say how he's more affectionate. He's happier. He's freer when Jax isn't around, And that goes back to, what's in his best interest? Probably that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Not having that harshness, that negativity, that,
tension, right? I mean, there is something that's so true about you. You can walk into a room and you can feel the tension. You can cut it with a knife. It's true.
Absolutely.
And it can be so true when, for kids, they can feel it, and if that's their day-to-day environment, it's going to affect them, right? And especially autistic children have a hypersensitivity, right? So it makes complete sense.
To emotions. It just makes so much sense.
Right? That he's hypersensitive to when things are good or when they're bad. And that's how, you know, he reacts to it. So I do love that she is seeing that as well, right? Because I think there's a lot of people that, again, going back to this whole, divorce is so hard. It's so hard to go from start to finish because there's waiting periods and that kind of thing and then, you know, people have those emotions put into it. So at one point I did care for this person in some capacity, right? Most of the time, right? Sometimes not, but you know, right. But for the most part, there's always these, going to Michelle and Jesse also in the Valley, right? They are very much happy to be getting divorced, but they're getting ready to sign the papers. And Michelle was going, all I'm remembering now is how it was good at one time, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of animosity in their divorce as well sometimes, but...
but I feel like they've done a little bit of a 180 now towards the middle of the season where, you know, last season it was rough, man. It was rough to watch them because there was so much hatred there between them. It just felt like raw hatred. And, you know, I think everybody goes through that stage in their divorce where it's just like, I hate you, you know?
Yep.
I mean, it just happens, right?
Yeah.
But they have really been able to turn it around for Isabella and kind of make it a much, much more civil, I'll say, civil relationship. You know, there's none of that name calling and the ugly talk. And it's been pretty good. It's been nice to see them be a little adult about it. You know what I mean? It's interesting. You were talking about like you loved this person at one time. You know, it was really important.
I didn't say love. I said cared.
Oh, cared about. But yeah, okay. But but still, this is this person you cared about. You know what was really, really important to me? I think I told you that I digitized all my family photos, right?
Yeah.
That was like thousands of pictures. Well, there were pictures of my oldest sons. It was a picture of their wedding, a couple pictures of their wedding, and then a couple pictures, really cute pictures that we took when she was really pregnant.
Yeah.
For my granddaughter, right? Very sweet pregnancy photos. It was like a pregnancy photo shoot, and they were very sweet pictures. And I came across them and I had a lot of feelings. But you know what? I thought, I'm going to save these because I want my grandbaby to know that when she was conceived and when she was thought of, she was loved and she was wanted and they were in love with each other. Like they cared about each other. And there was love there that created her. Do you know what I mean? Even though that love didn't last, you know, at least it was there. And I want her to have that core, like, origin story. I think it's so important. So it's interesting that you said that, you know, this is a person that you cared about at some point, you know, and to come from that perspective, I think is a very healthy perspective. A very healthy perspective. Yeah. But I think a lot of people have a hard time getting to that too.
Yeah.
Because of all the animosity buildup, bad behavior. Look, let's face it. You know, I will honestly say, I don't think my oldest son at this point would be like interested in talking about how he cared about her.
No, I'm sure not, right?
No. And I get it. Because she's put him through the ringer.
Yeah.
You know?
And who you were then and who you are now, right? Like you're not. People change, right? So let's so people do change, right? So there's that, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people get divorced, right? There's one of the reasons is some people just pull the wool over their eyes. They're on their best behavior, and then all of a sudden they don't, right? They stop. Sometimes people just have the wool over their eyes, self-selected, and they keep it there, and then all of a sudden they decide to take it off. But then sometimes people just grow apart, and that happens, right? Who you were, especially, I don't want to say especially sweethearts, like high school sweethearts. Quite frankly, I think sometimes those are the best people who grow together over the years because you are kind of you go through so many different stages of life and you learn to grow, and it's one of the most admirable things. But sometimes people just grow apart.
That trajectory goes two ways. And we've seen it both ways. I'm sure you have in friends and couples. I have too, where that can go two very distinct ways. Either they very much grow together and grow closer and closer and closer, which frankly is my story with Mr. Collins, right? You know, like that's been, look, I met him when I was 15 years old. He was 14, you know, so that was our story. But I have also seen people who grew apart years ago. And let's make this our little final segment. What about people who stay married who probably should get divorced?
Well, now I don't have any experience in that, but I think.
But I mean, have you seen it? Do you know those people?
Yeah, of course, right?
I do.
And I think that there's some. Oh gosh, okay. Now that the juices are flowing, but I think you know there's. Should you or should you not, right? What really constitutes getting divorced, right? Because there's people who like, you know, completely grow apart and you live completely separate lives, but you're kind of happy with that, right? Or are you content?
You like you're okay with it, yeah,
right? But they're like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it,
yeah.
Or boy, that's a tough one. Gosh, I don't know how to think about that, right? I think there's something, right?
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Who shouldn't? Why should you not? Are you being disrespected? Are you okay with being disrespected if you're being disrespected?
Yeah.
Can it be fixed? Is anybody interested in fixing it? There's so many things, right? But
are you lonely in your marriage?
Are you lonely?
I know women who are lonely in their own homes.
Yeah.
And to me, that's awful. But I mean, and look, this is where our generational differences really come in, right? Because I know women in their 60s, right, who are like, well, we've been married this long. Why would I leave now? It's too hard to untie all those years. Right?
Yeah.
I get it. Listen, no judgment, no nothing. I get it. You know, that's a lot to untie. You've had, you know, multiple kids together. You've been together forever. You live in the same home. Everything's, you know, you've been tied to this person for 40 years, 45 years. But how much of that 45 years has been good? And, you know, do you think now generationally, like younger generations aren't willing to do that?
I don't think so at all, right? I think that's right. And I think time, right?
And that's why we see more divorce, right? Because people are like, I'm not putting up with this shit.
Exactly. Exactly, right? I don't need to put up with this. I'm happy by myself. I can be happy by myself without having to deal with that person or that person's crap or whatever. Yeah, so I think I think that's one of the reasons why we do see a higher divorce rate with younger people, because well, at this point now we're starting to see, well, my parents were divorced, you know, versus our parents and our parents' parent. Like, that was not a thing. Why? Number one, most houses were a single income family. The wife was at home. Now it's when is a stay-at-home mom is almost a rare thing, especially a career stay-at-home wife or mother, right? I mean, like all our housewives. How many of our housewives are actually just housewives? They're not. They're all career women. You know, and half of them now are they're self-made, or they, you know, really want to talk about how they're the breadwinners. Exactly. Or they become on the housewives as now, especially, right? They cast big, powerful, career-driven women who are not housewives. When they first started, there were some actual, for real, true housewives on the show. Now, who is really just a quote unquote just a housewife on the shows?
Honestly, I can't think of one of them that's just a housewife. Which brings me to another. We're going to take one more detour.
We love a good detour.
Even though we're talking about this, you know, there is this, I'm so fascinated because I said the term breadwinner, and I had somebody use that term the other day, and I was like, what is this, the 1950s breadwinner? Because that's
we don't eat carbs anymore. That's true.
Girl, even my generation, I don't say bread. I wouldn't ever say like, oh, my husband's a breadwinner. Yeah, it's just weird. It feels very dated, antiquated.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk just for a moment about this whole trad wife movement, which I'm not really understanding. It's interesting that we're going back to this, like, we like this June Cleaver trad wife. I just stay at home and make a beautiful home, or I don't, so I just stay at home, and my husband's the breadwinner, and I'm just, the wife at home. And I'm like, what is this?
My thoughts
don't
are,
come
I don't
at me
have
for saying this either. Huh?
I can't speak on it. I have never been a stay-at-home. I couldn't be a stay-at-home. We've talked about it. We applaud and I appreciate people that are stay-at-home moms that can do that does completely fill their cup, or at least for the time, right? When your children are small and stuff like that. That's just not me, right? That can't be my only identity, even if it's just for, unfortunately, those very small, adorable little years. That just can't be my whole identity.
But Heifer, it's a whole movement now.
But
it's
okay,
a movement.
I can't. No, move on. I can't talk to that. I can't. I'm not in that pasture. I'm not in that cow yard.
Me neither.
And kudos to those people.
Don't come at me, but I'm just fascinated by it, because it seems like for a long time, and listen, somebody in the comments, tell me if I'm wrong. It seems like for a long time, we've been very progressive, women in the workplace, we're finding our way in careers. I still think, I talked about it in my solo episode, where I still think there's a glass ceiling in the corporate world. We don't see many women CEOs. We just don't, and so there is still a glass ceiling there, but we've very much talked about, like, it used to be a big deal for, honestly, for women to go to law school, for women to be in certain professions. It was a big deal. And I think there are still some professions that are like that. So we've had all this progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now we're interested in going back to like
self-selecting.
Well, we like this box too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess great if that's the box you want to be in, but it just feels like a weird cultural shift to me.
It does, right?
That's all I gotta say.
Look, I started smirking halfway through because
you were smirkety smirking over there.
I was having this great internal monologue of how trends and fashion repeats itself, history repeats itself. That's what's going on here, right? So, okay, sure, we're going to see this, but more than likely we're going to see that evolve and change out of it too, right?
Yeah.
Jinkos are coming back. They're not going to last forever. And again, I'll take your smoke, okay? Again, I appreciate and I applaud those people who are all about being a stay-at-home and can do it, right? Yeah, I applaud that. But for you to just think that that's a trend and let's jump on the trend, nah, it's not for me, okay? I'm not trying to say, I'm this boss, Look, I struggle with a 40-plus hour work week and getting laundry done. And the dishes in the dishwasher are always clean and all of that. No, hell no. That's not what's going on here at all. And I am always up to my ears there are never enough hours in the day. Okay? So, and there's not enough money in my bank account to hire somebody to do all of that stuff for me either, right? So I am struggling, but I just can't do it all, okay? Give me the smoke. That's fine. It's not my identity. And I have to be okay with that, quite frankly, right? And people can say, how could you not? Well, I can't. That would be depressing to me.
I don't know. I'm just fascinated, amused by it. I don't know. We're raising chickens. We're baking our own sourdough bread. We've got to... And again, don't come at me with hate, because I'm not hating on you. I'm just saying it's an interesting trend to me. And if you truly choose that as your life, listen, kudos, applause. I love it. But if you're doing it because it's a trend, maybe double.
That's it, right?
Check yourself, Heifer.
That's my thing. That's, I think, what's driving me nuts is that it's a trend. Okay. Now, if this is your lifestyle,
yeah,
cool. But if this is just, I'm going to be a trend and I'm going to trend and I'm going to be TikTok mom or whatever it is, like
farm girl.
Yeah. Hashtag farm girl. Guess, okay. You know what? Like, okay. I have canned tomatoes. I have made my own salad dressings. I have made my own salsas and spaghetti sauces and canned that. I come from that, sure. I have actual quilted items and crocheted items from my family members. So hashtag farm
but it's
girl.
Not your identity.
Right.
It's not your identity.
It's not my identity. No.
It's just a nice part of your life. You know what I mean? I think it's making it your whole identity. And like I said, I was really shocked because this was somebody in their early 30s that said, well, he's the breadwinner. And I went, what? It took me a hot minute. Because this is also somebody who really prides themselves on being progressive. And I was like,
that's an oxymoron.
I'm having a hard time here. Listen, look, I was looking around the corner for Ashton Kutcher. I'm like, am I being punked? Because what's going on here?
Yeah. No, I don't see. Tell me, right? Like, I'm a simple person. So, I'm thinking the match game, right? We have the car and the road, and that matches. And then we have the school book and a lunchbox, and you match that. I don't see how those two match.
No, it's what in the Old Testament. One of these things is not like the other.
Clip that.
Clip. Well, honestly, that's probably a pretty good place to end our meandering through this pasture of divorce, custody, and
this is our first crack at that. Honestly, this was a tough one, I think, before we really wrap it up. I think this was a tough one to get into, but boy, I started having a lot of fun as we got into it. So this is just round one, like divorce and relationships and kids and all that. Boy, we're going to go the 12 rounds on this.
Lord, share your ugly stories with us, please. And honestly, we'll take the positive stories too. So if you have like a really great story, share it with us. If you have a horror story, because boy, I know we haven't heard them all, and we've got some, but we
haven't shared hardly any of them.
We haven't shared the tip of the iceberg.
No.
So there'll be more to come on this. But as always, we want you to like, comment, and subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. And you can join our private Facebook group, Heifers. We would love to have you. And boy, I had fun with my heifer today. Yeah. She's heading out to a baseball game tonight. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something.
Well, you're probably, let me assume, wait, you've got to check on your sourdough starter. You've got...
Go check them. I'll go feed my chickens.
Chickens to check on.
And let's face it, I'm in Ohio, so I'll probably be sitting out in my driveway drinking a beer on this Friday afternoon in the sunshine. So that's most likely what I'm going to be doing after this.
I thought you were going to say that you were going to be doing something with your Amish lawn furniture or something.
Yes, exactly. Let's get as trad wipe as we can.
We are going to go, me and my daughter, we've got a mommy-daughter date. We're going to go to the AAA baseball game. Again, like I shared with you, I know it's that time of year, but
love baseball.
Super proud. We're going to be celebrating her win. I've got to brag on my little mini heifer. She
brag on her.
Earned these baseball tickets by reading.
I love
and that's a new love for her. That's not something that she had just took to. So it's really exciting that that's kind of her new passion.
That's
reading.
Very exciting.
So we're going to see about getting a good old fashioned hot dog or something at the baseball game. Then we've got skateboarding, jackalope coming up this weekend as well. So we're looking forward to kickstarting summer. We've still got school. We're not those people that are out of school yet. So we've still got some weeks of school left, but we're starting to try to enjoy some summer activities.
Almost there. Almost to summer. Sweet summertime is coming. I love it.
I love
it. Maybe Ohio will stop having me turn the heat on every day.
Good luck.
We'll see.
All right. Stranger things have happened.
We love you, heifers, and we love you, herd. But as always, what is it? It's time to
Move on.
on.
Bye, Heifers.
Have a good one. Bye, Heifers.